Oyewumi joins us now. He's of the Center for Law and Business. He's also a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Well, there's this challenge, this bailout question, taking its toll in different sectors of the economy now. Now, we have WAEC also crying out, look, we don't have funds. We're owed over 4 billion naira. We can't carry out operations. You have pensioners also waiting in the wings. You have teachers waiting in the wings. In spite of the fact that they talked about a special intervention fund that the CBN had directive from the president to work out for those states. And then yesterday, there was this headline that some of the states can't access those funds because they defaulted in paying their loans. Do you think that all of this playing out is something that, yes, it needed to happen such that they could correct so many others in the system, or it's just a phase that will go over in no time?
Thank you for having me here, and I'm so glad that this channel television continues to try to make issues on the front burner so that things can be sorted out. We're going through a very bad phase at this point in time in this nation. However, it's a build-up to now. A lot of these things that are happening, it's an accumulation of, in my own opinion, irresponsible government. Not just bad governance, irresponsible governance. If you listen to what the head of WAEC said, he said they didn't want to be irresponsible. That was his word. That was why he allowed the students to take the exams without payment having been made. I think we need to have responsible governance in this nation, and I think that's what's happening. As I said the other time when I was here on the bailout program, we have effective laws that could make things work. However, laws have to be implemented by human beings. It is the human beings, the hands that implement these laws, that allow all of these issues to come up. Appropriation has been made. If you look at all the state budgets, I'm sure the appropriation has been made for pension funds. Appropriation has been made for all the other things. There's the Education Intervention Fund. There's the education, and there's tax that companies have to pay a certain amount of their profit for education intervention. And there was also the body, the Education Trust Fund. What's happening to all these funds? They all look good on paper. Absolutely, they're good. They give you good objective, nice objectives that are laudable. But the implementation is the problem.
In other words, you're saying that the governors have no reason whatsoever being in this situation or in WAEC, because all those agencies are set up to ensure that that kind of thing doesn't happen.
Absolutely. Because if we look at it, I want to assume that all those states had appropriated funds for that payment to WAEC in their budgets. So what has happened to that appropriation? Or was the appropriation not made? If the appropriation wasn't made, then it's irresponsible of them to have made commitments to WAEC when they have not made appropriation for it in their budget. And if appropriation has been made for it in their budget, then where's the money? What has happened to the funds?
It's a big question, because quite a number of people will say that some of the states took it up as a populist measure. It would seem usually students are required to pay their own WAEC fees, but some states, perhaps see that it's a burden to students and decide to take it up. But have you seen, that usually, because one of the things that we're good at doing is making the budget but never following it. And now that we're talking about a shortfall in terms of the incomes of the state, quite a number of states still say that their income is falling far short of what it is that they've expected. Do you think that this was one of the areas that would naturally suffer?
Well, a lot of areas will definitely suffer. But again, I look at it as part of bad planning. Anybody who watched the trend in the international markets would know that there's going to be a fall in the price of oil. We've talked over the years about diversifying our economy. States have been told to increase they don't even have to be told. It's part of proper governance to try and increase their IGR so that they have enough money to do what they're doing. Employment. Do we have to employ so many people if we don't need them? How much work is being done? How many ghost workers are in the system? These are all the things that is mopping up the funds for appropriate utilization of those funds. And then the cost of governance is high. It is high. How many cars follow a state government, a state governor on an assignment? When you look at the, things like their allowances when they travel, you'll be shocked how much they pay themselves on those journeys. That's where the funds are going. Their salaries are not that high, but allowances for travel, allowances on ESTA code, allowances on this, that's where most of the funding is going. So anyone who has planned ahead would have seen that. Let me diversify my economy. Let me not be so dependent on the federal government. Let's find ways of doing things. It's a very laudable program to pay the fees of indigent students. But when you're doing so, you must plan for it. You cannot shift your responsibility to another body. WAEC is now the one bearing the brunt of their own socialist or social program. And it's very unfortunate because WAEC is not owned by the Nigerian government alone, the Gambia, Sierra Leone, Ghana, and Liberia. Do these other governments owe WAEC money? I think we need to check that. And it will be very, very unfortunate and irresponsible if those other governments meet their own responsibilities and our own governments don't. Those are kind of the critical issues. So there must be proper fiscal management of our resources.
Now that the National Assembly is somewhat settling down, the House of Representatives, for instance, yesterday discussed this matter. What would you expect to see in the next few days? Well,
as they have said, they want to look at the whole issue. I only hope it doesn't go the way of previous resolutions to look at matters and probes. We never see the result of it. We never see the end of it. We don't know what has happened. If you ask me, I think because the parents were appealing to WAEC to release the results, I agree those children's results should be released. But those parents should put pressure on their governments. The National Assembly that has passed that resolution, the parents have representatives there. Go and talk to the representative, your representative from your ward. Go and talk to each and let the parents put pressure on each of those legislators. Let them put pressure both at the State House of Assembly, because it's really a matter of the states. It's the states that is owing the money, not the federal government. I'm sure there is a committee on education in each of the states' assembly, and there are legislators representing each of those parents there. That's where the pressure it should be on, so that that payment should be made, even if they have to reach a staggered payment. It must be paid to WAEC. WAEC cannot be allowed to fail. WAEC is the only body that's conducting exams for most of the Anglophone countries in the West African region, and their mandate is to maintain exam standards of international best practices. It cannot be allowed to fail, because if those standards fall, then the WAEC certificates will not be acceptable internationally as it is now. And if there's no money, then that's a problem.
But do you think there's any chance that now that this squeeze seems to be playing out, that at some point some agency or authority may just say, look, let's relax some of these laws and allow states access certain funds and do certain things?
That will not be a bad idea. However, it must be shown, and there must be assurances that those states are not going to squander those funds.
Some of them are even going ahead to borrow some more.
Borrow some more money, and how are those funds utilized? I can assure, if we see a steady plan of reduction in cost of governance, in size of governance, in white elephant projects and self-aggrandizement, then we'll begin to say the states are serious. And for me, it comes back to the issue about whether the states are viable or not in the first place.
So are you seeing any increased level of transparency anywhere in spite of the problems, or especially because of the problems that we have?
Well, I want to believe with the present government, the issues of transparency will begin to improve. I think the present president, he's a symbol of transparency, a symbol of anti-corruption, a symbol of doing things properly. So with that, we expect that there would be increased transparency.
Well, let's just get this out to the public. What you see scrolling there is breaking news. Many are feared dead at the moment following an explosion at a vegetable market in Maiduguri in Borno State. It occurred at about 6 a.m. today, we were told. That's after a suicide bomber detonated an explosive device, but the number of casualties are yet to be known. So we expect so many agencies to be there about now, trying to rescue and sort out so many things. But let's get back to this before we wrap this up. And not that we are in this situation. Well, the good thing is we've seen states, some of them have made certain statements that yes, they've given instructions for that payment to be made, while many others are silent. If WAEC should go ahead and release those names, what and how can that help anything? Well,
from a practical point of view, you know, there's this thing about name and shame. Let's hope that the state governors will have a conscience. They will feel under pressure to make that payment. However, let's even hope that it was the state governors that were there before now, because the head of WAEC did say also one of the reasons he didn't want to name names was that there was change of governance.
Well, governance is a continuum.
No, it's a continuum, but you know how we do things. Oh, it's not my, I didn't incur the debt, why should I? You know, but let's hope that name, shame, they will then feel under pressure and under compulsion to try and make that payment. But it is important that payment is made. Education is a paramount factor for development in any nation.
You know, I'm just wondering, do you think that we approach governance as business, as private sector CEOs will do, knowing that, look, it's either I swim or I sink. If I don't do this, look, I'm going to go home.
I'm quite pleased with that question. The private sector way of doing things and the public sector, it's not the same. However, I think it is important that the public sector do imbibe some of the strategies and the thinkings of the private sector. Yes, the public sector has duties to society and help to do things, so it's not all about profit. But there's no harm in being disciplined in how funds are spent, and especially these are people's funds. Those in governance are trustees on our behalf. They hold those funds on our behalf. It's not their money. They're trustees on our behalf, and the duty of a trustee is to apply the funds of the owners, the beneficiaries, in a good manner. Yeah.
Mr. Dapo, Oyewumi is the CEO, Center for Law and Business, is also a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
Well, just before we wrap up again, the breaking news we got for you, many are feared dead at the moment following an explosion at a vegetable market in Maiduguri, Borno State. It occurred at about 6 a.m. today after a suicide bomber detonated an explosive device. But the number of casualties are not known at the moment, and so different people coming through that scene to save as many as they can. Well, that's the program today. We thank you all for watching. We'll be glad you could all through the week. We'll be back next week, though. I'm Chamberlain also.
Well, thank you so much. I'm Maokwe Ogun.
And thank you for your comments. I'm Neo Taibe.